all of a sudden, I felt like I went from a very dark room that had no light to a very illuminated room that had hope. The Elks have this therapy program.
We have Matthew Clementes. He is a graduate of the therapy program. Next to Matthew is his mother, Shelley.
Shelley, tell your story. I'm not going to interview you.
Well, first of all, as I've said, every time I start, the first thing that is the most important to me is that every one of you, every single person in this room, know how grateful and how thankful I am to you. I'm going to try to get through this story without crying. I don't usually do that. So Matthew was born in 2000, and he was born neurotypical, and everything was cranking along. And at 2 years old, both of my boys caught the flu. And why Matthew's that virus got into his spinal cord and went up to his brain and caused viral meningitis and encephalitis, we don't know. In 27 days, our life changed completely. I went from having a neurotypical child to a situation where the doctors said, your son is not coming home. You need to make funeral arrangements. We're 21 years past that, and I can tell you Matthew has defied all odds time and time again. But he went from a boy who could talk in full sentences and ride a bicycle without training wheels to a boy who didn't even know who I was. He sustained brain damage from the viral meningitis. The crazy thing about that is you don't know what part of the brain is damaged. You don't know what you're going to face. So it's kind of like maybe being in the military and they tell you to walk through a landmine field. You don't know when you're going to hit one. So Matthew has intractable epilepsy, and he has really bad seizures. So our life got turned upside down, and we didn't know where to look for help. And I don't remember exactly who told me. The Elks have this therapy program. We live in a very small town, Raymond, Washington, out on the coast. So getting Matthew to therapy, even to Olympia, is an hour and a half. Most of his doctors are in Seattle, so 2.5 hours if we don't hit traffic. It's very costly, and it's just really hard to do. And in walked Becky into our life. All of a sudden, I felt like I went from a very dark room that had no light to a very illuminated room that had hope. That's something I hadn't had, because the boy that you see sitting here today is an amazing result of what you guys have given for 70 years. When he does this, he couldn't do this. When he would take coins out of his hand and push them into my hand, like Becky had taught him, we spent hours and hours doing that. We made it a game for him, and he thought it was great. But I knew it wasn't a game, and I knew how important that was. And every single time he couldn't do it, it breaks your heart. But perseverance and the fact that Becky never gave up. When it didn't work, we found other ways to do it. He's a huge example of what your program does. And you never give up. You come every single week. And it doesn't cost our families anything. It brings hope. It brings a family to us. It brings years and years of knowledge that we don't have. I'm a very good accountant, but I can't tell you how to take care of my child. I didn't even know. I had no clue how to help my own child. And as his mother, that's a very horrible feeling. The one thing at the end of the journey, because now he's aged out, I want you to know, every one of you, that you made a difference. You made a huge difference. You made a difference in Matthew's life, but you made a difference in my son Seth, in my life, in my parents' life, in my community's life. Matthew won the pentathlon this last weekend, and I posted it on Facebook. And if anybody wants to go look at Shelley Flemetis' Facebook page, you'll see the picture. And you'll also see 164 people who liked it or loved it, and you'll see 84 comments, and I only have like 400 friends. So that's a huge percentage of people who stopped, looked at that picture, and took the time to actually write something. And they got to do that because each one of you has been given to this program for 70 years. My son wouldn't have gotten to do that. And that is simply amazing. That is the most amazing thing that you could possibly do. And there are people out there just like me that you have helped. Tons and tons of families. I know some of those families. I know a little girl in Raymond. She was so scared. She's autistic, and she was just so scared of her own shadow. I do a Christmas program at the county every year, and this little girl couldn't come. She was scared to death to come. But Becky worked with her for a couple years, and I don't know exactly what they did and everything. But a couple years later, that little girl crawled up on my lap, and she had her picture taken with me. She was scared of Santa still, but she crawled up on my lap, and we had our picture taken. And that little girl today is thriving. Again, that's because of you. And I see that every day in my community. I live in a very small community, so I get to see those people. I get to see those success stories. So, thank you. But I look forward to this continuing another 70 years and helping people that are in my situation, where you didn't ask for this, you didn't cause this, you don't know why it happened to you, but it did. And you don't know where to turn. So you turn to the Elks therapy program. And these amazing people show up your house every single week. And when you're down and out, you call them on the phone and you're like, Becky, I don't know what to do. And she listens to you, and she lifts you up. And she's become family now. I'll never let her go. She's not just yours anymore. She's ours too. So thank you.
Shelley wants to say one more thing.
I know you've all been sitting here, but I just want to say, because I understand each one of you is from a different lodge, and it is so important that everybody know this. So if you ever need Matthew or I to come to your lodge, and we've been to a few, we've been bowling. In fact, we were just in Forks a couple weeks ago bowling. So if you ever need us to come because they just need to see an example of how fantastic they are, we will definitely come. All you gotta do is get in touch with Becky, and we drive all over.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Shelley. And, we have to understand that not every family has the capacity to drive all over or the willingness to put themselves in the spotlight as Shelley and Matthew have done for us. So I'm really appreciative of their willingness to give back to the program by helping us share a story and share a family experience. Thank you so much for your support of the program.
The first thing that is the most important to me is that every one of you know how grateful and how thankful I am to you.